So hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 5 of our Carlos Sainz Sprint Career Mode. Now if you didn't watch the last episode, go back and watch that one, because we had some fantastic results. We won every Grand Prix. We won the British, we won the Belgian, and we won the Italian Grand Prix as well. And that meant that we are now 10 points clear of our teammate Charles Leclerc in the driver's standings. Constructor standings wise, Ferrari, we have got it wrapped up, 432 points. We're going to have to do something pretty special to lose it from here. This week we go to Brazil, Vegas and Qatar before finishing our first season in Abu Dhabi on the next episode. Just to bring you up to date with the R&D chart, because it's all important, of course. McLaren are now the fastest team, Mercedes in P2, we're the third best team, and Red Bull are in fourth. It's a very, very close grid at this moment in time. The runners and riders changing all the time, but without any further ado, we've got 3 fantastic Grand Prix weekends coming up for you, starting in Brazil, so I'll see you there.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Oscar Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Perez, Gasly, Ricciardo, Ocon, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Albon, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Joe, and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. First race of the episode, first 3-lap shootout. Let's see how we managed to get on its 5 red lights, and away we go, and straight away we get a decent start on Hamilton and Russell, but we do get boxed in a little bit round the outside of turns 1 and turn 2. We do get boxed in behind the Mercedes, but then once again we're back behind Piastri. It's side by side between Russell and Piastri, and Leclerc and Verstappen, our 2 main championship protagonists, will be loving this, because as you can see we're boxed in once again, and Piastri and Russell going at it is allowing the front 2 to run away, and now we are side by side with Oscar Piastri, and it's side by side all the way as it's into this high speed right-hander, which we do manage to just about get in front. We just took in front of Oscar Piastri, and now we are sat in behind George Russell, and hopefully we can close back in on Verstappen and Leclerc at the top. But a decent start from us up into P4. Lap 2, nothing too much else to tell you, but as we're coming on towards lap 3 and the final lap of this 3-lap shootout, we are closing on George Russell. We got a much better exit out of the final corner. We managed to dive to the right-hand side of George Russell. We can see Leclerc and Verstappen battling up in front, but we have managed to get George Russell, and we are going to switch to this battle to the onboard of Charles Leclerc, because Charles Leclerc has just lost the position, and Max Verstappen has got DRS, and one man that's got DRS as well is George Russell. As we switch to his onboard, we are racing him once again. We leave him just enough room. He forces us a little bit wide, but we do manage to maintain the position. We just didn't want to make contact and end our race there. But this 3-lap shootout is coming to its finale now, and as we can see in front of us, we look like we've comfortably got P3 in the bag. Piastri's in P5, Hamilton in P6, but it is Leclerc chasing Verstappen, and we just cannot get close enough to these front 2, because it's been a disappointing start in this one, because although we're P3 and we're not going to lose too many points to these 2 in front, it could have been so much more, but that start we just got boxed in and couldn't quite manage to get up to the front 2 behind Piastri and Russell. It was a difficult start, but we will take P3 on the day. George Russell is a bit too far back now, and P3 will start us off in this 3-lap shootout. Let's get to the classified. So there we have it then, an exciting sprint. Max Verstappen winning from Charles Leclerc. Decent P3 from us in the end after going boxed in at the start. Russell in P4 and Piastri in P5. Let's get to qualifying for the feature race. One-shot quali then, and it's been a very poor one-shot quali. As you can see in the rain, the car was set up for the dry. We were sliding all over the place for the feature, for the qualifying. We were set up for the feature race, and P17. My word, we've got some overtaking to do tomorrow. Let's get to the grid.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Stroll, Sainz, Bottas, Sargent, and Zhou Guanyu. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Right then, possibly our most disappointing qualifying session of the season, just when we didn't need it, and it's 5 red lights and away we go, and we have got to ensure that we move forward here, because Verstappen and Leclerc, our two main title rivals, are at the sharp end, and we have got a lot of overtaking to do. And to be fair, we didn't go for a big dive bomb into turn 1. We didn't feel we could make that pass. We didn't feel we could get that opportunity, and we don't want to risk smashing into the back of cars on lap 1 and totally being out of the game. So we've got to settle in here, as straight away we're actually under threat from Lance Stroll, who's going side by side. We try and keep it around the outside. There's a little shift there from Kevin Magnussen, as we can see, and we've still got Lance Stroll, who's also fighting us. We're going to have the inside line, and we do go a little bit wide. So we probably squeeze out Lance Stroll a little bit too much. Then we go for a dive up in towards P14, where Daniel Ricciardo is, and then we keep it around the outside. It's good, clean, progressive racing here on at lap 1 from us and Carlos Sainz, and we sense another dive bomb opportunity past Alexander Albon and up into P13, but Albon is still keeping his nose in down that left-hand side. 13 unlucky for some, and we do now manage to sit in behind Yuki Tsunoda. So we've gained, what, 4 positions on lap 1, but a long way to go. And coming on towards lap 2, we can see Yuki Tsunoda on the right-hand side of us. We do manage to get the run on him now. Will we get the run on Nico Hulkenberg? We go to the outside line. Hulkenberg covers us off. We try and then get a tighter line, but we have a little bit of a step out of the back of the car and have to settle in for P12. And coming towards the end of lap 2, we are now eyeing up the bike of Nico Hulkenberg as we manage to once again go to the inside, and now we are on the cusp of the points. We can see Piastri, Ocon and Gasly in front of us, but what is happening at the front, you may ask, because Lando Norris is fighting Max Verstappen, and Lando Norris has got the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix from Verstappen. Leclerc is in P3, but look at this, it's 3 wide into the left-hander. Norris still in front, and Leclerc forces out Verstappen. He knows how competitive this is. Meanwhile, towards the bike, we can see Gasly and Ocon, and then we're now sat in P11, but quite a distance off Oscar Piastri. And coming towards the end of lap 3, you can see we are burning the ERS. We've got overtake on. We're trying to keep it around the outside. It's 3 wide into the centre S's, and we now, that changes to the inside. There's a little bit of contact, but we get a double overtake done on Ocon and Piastri. We felt we gave them enough room, and we're now up into P9 with Gasly in our sights. And as we come on to the final lap of this Grand Prix, we are attacking Pierre Gasly into the centre S as we take the outside line. Gasly is to the inside. He keeps his nose there, but doesn't fight it too much. And we are up into P8, which is not bad to say we started in P17. And we can see Gasly DRS wide open. Along with that Ferrari, we look like we've got just enough to cover off the Frenchman, and P8 is probably all it's going to be today. But we're now going to switch our attention towards Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, because these are our 2 closest title rivals, if you remember. And we can see Verstappen stalking Leclerc. Can he get him through this middle sector? It doesn't look like he can. Lando Norris is a little bit further back in P3. Then comes Alonso and George Russell. We can see we are settled into P8. We are not going to make any improvements really on that, I would suggest, but we are going to follow this battle to the line between Leclerc and Verstappen, because Leclerc gets a decent exit, as does Verstappen. But of course, Verstappen will get the DRS. Now, will Max Verstappen manage to get Charles Leclerc before the line? It's not looking likely, and Charles Leclerc is going to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we finish in P8. Disappointing for us on the day, but my word, it could have been a lot worse. Let's get to the podium.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
Big moves for Charles Leclerc on the first Grand Prix of this episode. Remember, it was only a 10-point gap, and Charles Leclerc is looking very strong in the early part of this episode. Let's have a look at the full classifieds. And there we have it then. Charles Leclerc winning, Lando Norris fastest lap, Max Verstappen in P2, Fernando Alonso in P4, and then we were all the way down in P8. To be fair, starting from P17, we recovered quite well. What does that mean for the standings? It means that Charles Leclerc is now on top of the drivers' standings, and we are now 12 points behind our teammate, and Max Verstappen splits the two Ferraris. Let's get to the next Grand Prix. Coming towards the end of the lap then, and we've been incredibly fast all weekend so far. Charles Leclerc looks like he's going to get pole position. We are going to be in P3 for tomorrow's Las Vegas Grand Prix. Decent qualifying session from us. Let's get to the grid.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Gasly, Ocon, Stroll, Magnussen, Perez, Bottas, Sargent, Joe, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Viva Las Vegas, and it needs to be a solid performance today. We need to bounce back from Brazil, and we are starting on the second row, of course, so we get a great start on Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen didn't get away as quick as we did, and both Ferraris, as we lead, are 1-2. Charles Leclerc leads away from pole position. We're in P2, then comes Max Verstappen, who didn't have the best of starts, and as we can see, we've nearly dropped Verstappen by 7 straight away. Didn't have the best of starts. Russell and Alonso fighting with him, but now this already, I mean, straight away Leclerc's pulling away, but we know we've got the pace here in Las Vegas. We know we could potentially score very, very good points today, and we can see behind Alonso and Russell going side by side, as is Hamilton, Piastri and Norris, the two McLarens, battling it out as well. Pierre Gasly down in P9, Alexander Albon in P10. There's battling going on all over this Grand Prix so far, but the main battle is at the front because it's Sainz versus Leclerc, and we have already broke the DRS of Max Verstappen. Start of lap 2, and it's got to be said, we've dropped Max Verstappen, but we are all over the back of Charles Leclerc, and it's so important. We are going to pull to the left-hand side. Can we get the overtake done into this right-hander? We give him just enough room, but we make the overtake cleanly. The two Ferraris switch positions at the front. Max Verstappen now just about back in DRS range, and as we ride on board now with Charles Leclerc, he will be frustrated that he's given that away, but DRS is so important around here. And still on lap 2, and what were we saying? DRS is so important around here, and as we can see, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen are gaining. Charles Leclerc manages to get the overtake done on us. That's disappointing from our point of view, but where is Max Verstappen? Because we can see in our left-hand mirror the Red Bull flies past us as well, and on one straight we've managed to go from P1 down to P3. Verstappen gets a little bit out of shape and slows us up, and as we come towards the end of lap 2, are we going to be in P3 or are we going to be in P2? We are looking down the inside. Do we fancy the move? No, we don't. That then turns to the outside. We fancy a move possibly into turn 1. We feel we can outbrake the Red Bull. We keep it down the inside, and once again manage to get a move done. Now remember, we made a move into this right-hander on the previous lap. Will we go for it again? Let's have a little look. Is it on? It certainly is. We're gaining. We get all the slipstream we possibly can, and once again on lap 3 we take the lead of the Grand Prix. We lost 2 positions, then we won them back. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, and once again on the DRS straight we can see Charles Leclerc just cruises past us with that DRS down the Las Vegas strip, and once again Max Verstappen manages to get past us. Now of course we've got to bear this in mind, because if we do this on the final lap we aren't going to have time to overtake these two guys in the final sector and final couple of corners to get the win. So what we're going to have to do is, I think we're going to have to change tactics a little bit here, and as we come on to lap 4 we are in 3rd position. Lap 4, and we can see Verstappen's DRS wide open. Leclerc moves to cover him off, and we take that opportunist moment to get round him and get up into P2. Now of course we're going to have DRS on the big straight this time round, but we're going to be in front, possibly going on to the final lap. And coming on to the final lap here in Las Vegas, we decided to stick behind our teammate because we know how crucial that DRS can be. Now, if we have to go for a move, we have got a bit of battery saved up, which we could possibly use to defend. And we can see here, going into this right-hander, this has been a great overtaking position for us so far today. And once again, down the left-hand side, we can see Verstappen decides to go for it. And actually, we may end up in P3 going onto this big, long DRS straight. Now, let's have a look. Verstappen and Leclerc still fighting side by side. We're looking for opportunities. We tap the back of the Red Bull and actually get a little bit of damage on the front of our car there. Now we've got to be careful. Now Verstappen forcing Leclerc out has meant that we could take that opportunistic move, and now we can see the broken side plate on the front wing of our Ferrari, but we are chasing Max Verstappen all the way to the line here. We know we're going to get DRS. We're having to just adjust. The car doesn't feel as nice as it once did, but now the run down the Las Vegas Strip, we've got battery to burn, we've got a Red Bull in front of us, and we've got a potential win in Las Vegas. It's Red Bull versus Ferrari on the final lap of this Grand Prix. We can see DRS, we are closing. Verstappen goes central. We managed to get past, and that might just be all she wrote, because Charles Leclerc actually still fighting with Verstappen for P2 and 3, and this is allowing us to run away, because we are going to come around the final corner. We're going to win the Las Vegas Grand Prix. What a moment for us. It puts us right back in this title race, and as we can see behind, Verstappen manages to get P2 from Leclerc. What a race that was. My word, let's get to the podium.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
Ferrari do it again, and this time it's Carlos Sainz, and we bounced back so well. We lost his wing on that last lap there, a little bit of his wing, got a bit of damage, but managed to get the job done, and we are right back in the title race again. It's going one way then the other. Let's have a look at the full classifieds. So there we have it then, confirmation. We win the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, fastest lap by 700ths of a second. Charles Leclerc in P3, Fernando Alonso P4, then come Hamilton, Norris, Piastri, Russell, Gasly, and Alexander Albon getting a point for the Williams. What does that mean for the standings, I hear you ask? It means Charles Leclerc is now 2 points in front of us. Max Verstappen is a further 4 points behind us, and then Lando Norris is in P4. Constructors standings wise, we have won the Constructors with Ferrari. Congratulations to the team, fantastic work for us. But drivers standings wise and drivers championship, it's all to play for as we move on to the penultimate race in Qatar.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Sainz, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Hamilton, Stroll, Tsunoda, Ocon, Gasly, Albon, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Joe, Bottas, and Logan Sargent. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Another 3-lap shootout then, and once again we've got a decent starting position here as it's 5 red lights and away we go. And once again we get a decent start. These Ferraris are rapid off the line, but not quite as rapid as Max Verstappen, because Max Verstappen got a good getaway. Leclerc comes off the inside and we get a huge hit from Lando Norris. My word, that was a hit. We've managed to just about stay in P3, but then Norris gets the inside line, and he really did tell us there where to go. I believe that was Lando Norris. We'll have to double check. But as we start lap 1 in this 3-lap shootout, my word, very close to totally ruining our shootout race today. Verstappen leads from Leclerc, and we settle into P4. Coming on then towards lap 2, and my word, it's been a very difficult task to hold on to the top 3. Verstappen and Leclerc leading, of course, and we know how close it is at the top of the standings. As we can see, Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc going at it. Lando Norris has already smashed into one Ferrari today. Doesn't quite look like he's going to smash into another. Perez has just tucked in behind us at this moment in time. Then come the 2 Mercedes of Hamilton and Russell. But as we're on lap 2, it's still P4. And coming on to the final lap of the shootout, and we can see Lando Norris is going for a move on Charles Leclerc. Can we possibly pick up an opportunistic position here as Leclerc and Norris are still going side by side? Verstappen's got this one. We can see Verstappen's got this one. He's broken the DRS to Charles Leclerc. It's 1.2 seconds now, the gap, and now we're right behind Lando Norris as we move towards the outside. That then becomes the inside for this double right-hander. Can we possibly? Norris is not letting us pass today whatsoever, it must be said, as we go very, very close to the back of that McLaren. It must be said the red mist is descending a little bit at this point as well, because we felt unduly crashed into at the start of this free lap shootout. But my word, it's done for Max Verstappen. Is there going to be, as the sun sets here in Qatar, is there going to be an opportunity on the last lap of this shootout? We can see Hamilton and Russell, it's pretty much as you were. Piastri and P8 probably the closest battle on track to George Russell, but still it's so close for us. Can we possibly get a move done, as we do run a little bit wide there and pick up a warning for track limits? But as we come around the final couple of corners, this is going to be all she wrote. And sadly, we couldn't make an impression, and Verstappen and Leclerc will gain points on us once again. Not the most exciting three-lap shootout, but solid nonetheless. And there we have it then, the full classifieds from the sprint race. Max Verstappen winning from Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris in P3. We only finished in P4, losing points to our rivals, and it all matters at this stage. But let's get to quali for the feature race. Coming to the end of one-shot quali then, and once again we're in the mix for pole position, but Max Verstappen just seems to have that extra little bit over us all the time, and as we come up to the line, it's good enough for the front row but not good enough for pole position. We will start the Qatar Grand Prix in P2. Let's get to the grid.
So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Norris, Perez, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Stroll, Tsunoda, Albon, Gasly, Ocon, Ricciardo, Bottas, Joe, Hulkenberg, Sargent, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Final race of the episode then, as it gets down to the business end of the season, and we are on the front row alongside Max Verstappen, and it's a decent start from Verstappen. My word, it's a decent start from Leclerc as well, and Lando Norris again is alongside, and as you can see this time we cut across Lando Norris and Checo Perez to make sure that there is no contact, and we just about avoid contact with Charles Leclerc. So it's pretty much as you were, except we have dropped a position to our teammate Charles Leclerc. Norris and Perez are still having quite a ding-dong battle behind us as we switch to the television camera. Lando Norris and Checo Perez really going at it here, still side by side, and Perez will not give it up as this now turns into the inside. But you can see the gap is starting to form from us to Charles Leclerc, and we are still watching this battle with Lando Norris and Checo Perez, and Lando Norris is down the inside and he's now up into P4, and we are just about hanging on to the back of Leclerc and Verstappen. And coming on towards lap 2, you can see we're gaining on the back of Charles Leclerc. There's a little bit of a touch there on the back left tyre, sorry, of Charles Leclerc, but we are up into P2. Leclerc still keeping his nose in there. We can see Verstappen, he's loving this because it's allowing him to try and break the DRS, and you can see we are still aware that our teammates there, but he finally does decide to sit in behind us, and we are up into P2. And coming on to lap 3, you can see we are gaining down Max Verstappen on the start-finish straight. We dive to the inside. We keep it nice and close to the apex. Verstappen still on the outside. This battle's going to run and run as Verstappen now forces us towards the outside, cuts us off. We couldn't quite get into the lead of the Grand Prix, but this battle with Verstappen, will we fancy another move here? Let's have a little look. Not quite. And coming on to lap 4, it's the same again. With this time, we do manage to get to the inside, DRS wide open, and we do manage to get the job done. Max Verstappen this time can't stick with us, can't keep alongside, and we now lead the Qatar Grand Prix. Verstappen in P2, then comes Charles Leclerc in P3, Norris a little bit further back in P4. It's 1 from 3, just as it's going to be at the top of the Drivers' Championship at the end of this season. And this is it then, final lap of the Grand Prix. And as we can see, we're going to ride on board with Charles Leclerc because he can see not only Max Verstappen, but us as well. As Verstappen has a little look towards the inside, but decides not to try and make a move. And now it's all eyes on us. If we can just keep this nice and clean and tidy throughout the end of this final lap, we will win the Qatar Grand Prix, the penultimate Grand Prix of this first season here on this Carlos Sainz Sprint Career Series. And we can see we are doing just enough at this moment in time to hold on. Max Verstappen is still trying to close us down. He's right on the back of that Ferrari gearbox, but at this moment in time we're just about keeping it in front of him. Charles Leclerc equally will be dying to get past not only just Max Verstappen but us as well. Lando Norris 2.7 seconds back. The two Hassans are having a miserable day in Qatar, but Verstappen's going to be very, very miserable. We take a slightly wider line into that corner, but we're doing everything we possibly can to keep Max Verstappen at bay, and of course saving that little bit of battery for the run up to the line, because that's going to be all important as we go through these three right-handers. We can see Verstappen and Leclerc. Leclerc is looking at this battle now. He's a bit too far back. Verstappen is possibly the only one that could challenge us, but as we come round the final corner, we can see the scarlet red Ferrari. We keep it within track limits, and we are going to win the Qatar Grand Prix. We win when we needed to, just there, because that could have really set us back going into the final race of this season. But what a moment that is. Let's get to the podium.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
We certainly do, and it's again the three championship protagonists on the podium. These three drivers seem in a different class to the others on the grid at this moment in time, and it's all going to go down to the wire in the final episode of this series. So let's have a little look now at the full classifieds and see how it shapes up. So there are the full classifieds. We finished in P1 with the fastest lap as well. 26 points in the race for us. Max Verstappen in P2, Charles Leclerc P3. Then came Lando, Perez, Hamilton and Russell in P6 and 7. Stroll in P8, Piastri P9. Fernando Alonso in P10. Let's have a look now then at the standings, because going into the final episode of this first season, we are 7 points in front of our teammate Charles Leclerc and 9 points in front of Max Verstappen. One of those three drivers will win the driver's title in Abu Dhabi, and we will bring you the full 5 laps on the final episode. Just the one race next time on the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, it all comes down to this. I hope you've enjoyed. Please do like and subscribe, and I shall see you for the finale. Ta-ra!